The first thing I remember was the sound, metal screaming against the sky, a violent shudder that snapped conversations in half, oxygen masks falling like pale ghosts from the ceiling, and then gravity pulling, twisting, turning the world into chaos. I always knew I was the responsible one. In our family, my younger sister Alina was the sunshine child, the one everyone protected, admired, and excused. I was the dependable one, the practical daughter, the one who studied late into the night, worked time through college, and never asked for help even when I desperately needed it. So when my parents called and said they wanted to discuss something important, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was about my father's business again or maybe some house repair. But the moment I walked into the living room, I sensed something different. They were sitting too straight, too prepared. My mother smiled tightly. "Sit down, Beta." My sister sat beside her, eyes lowered, fingers twisting the edge of her dupatta. Then my father slid an envelope across the table. "For your sister's wedding," he said. I smiled nervously. "You want me to help with planning? Open it," he replied. Inside was a printed breakdown. Venue deposit, catering, designer lehenga, jewelry, photographer, floral arrangements, makeup artist, live band. At the bottom in bold, total, $20, 000. I stared at the number, waiting for someone to laugh. No one did. "You're asking me to review the budget," I asked slowly. My father leaned back. "We're asking you to pay it." The words didn't register at first. "I'm sorry, pay it. You're the older sister." My mother said softly, as if explaining something obvious. "You have a stable job. This is your responsibility." Responsibility. That word felt heavy. I had been responsible my entire life. Responsible for good grades. Responsible for keeping peace. Responsible for stepping up when money was tight. I had already helped pay Alina's university fees 2 years ago. I had quietly covered my father's loan installment once. I had sent money home without being asked. But this is my entire savings. I whispered, "You'll earn it again." My father said firmly, "This wedding is once in a lifetime, and my future." I asked before I could stop myself. The room fell silent. Elena finally looked at me. There was guilt in her eyes, but not enough to speak. "You know how much this means to her." My mother added, "Her in-laws expect something grand. We can't look small." So that was it. Not love, not celebration, reputation, image. I felt something inside me shift, not anger exactly, but realization. They weren't asking. They were expecting. 3 days, they said. The venue needed confirmation in 3 days. As I drove home that night, the envelope sat on the passenger seat like a weight. I realized something painful for the first time. In my family, I wasn't seen as a daughter with dreams. I was security, and security is only valued when it pays. The next 3 days felt heavier than any deadline I had ever faced. Every evening, my phone rang. "Did you transfer the money?" My mother would ask, her tone gentle but pressing. My father was less subtle. "Don't delay. The venue won't wait," he texted. Elena didn't call once. I went to work pretending everything was normal. I answered emails, led meetings, even laughed at jokes in the break room. But inside, I was unraveling. During lunch breaks, I'd open my banking app and just stare at the number. Years of discipline, years of skipped vacations, years of telling myself, one day I'll buy my own place. One day I'll feel secure, and now that one day was being traded for chandeliers and a our reception. I tried to reason with myself. It's your sister. It's her big day. Families help each other. But another voice whispered louder each night, "Who helps you?" No one had asked how much I could afford. No one had offered to share the burden. No one had even said thank you. It wasn't a request. It was an expectation wrapped in guilt. On the third night, I sat alone in my apartment, the city lights blinking outside my window. I thought about my childhood, how I always gave Alina the bigger piece of cake, how I defended her at school, how I chose the practical career so I could support the family. I had been preparing for this moment my entire life, and that realization hurt the most. At 11:47 p.m., I opened my laptop. My hands trembled as I entered the transfer amount, $20,000. I stared at the confirmation screen for a long time. This was my emergency fund, my independence, my safety net. Be strong, I whispered to myself. Then I clicked confirm. The money disappeared in seconds. I expected to feel relief. Instead, I felt empty. Not because of the money, but because I understood something clearly now. They didn't see this as a sacrifice, they saw it as my duty. The next morning, I sent a short message to my father, "The payment is done." His reply came within minutes, "Good. I knew you wouldn't disappoint us. No thank you, no appreciation, just satisfaction." That was the moment something inside me quietly broke. If they believed my strength meant endless sacrifice, then they didn't know me at all. And for the first time in my life, I began thinking about what it would feel like to choose myself instead. The wedding day arrived in a flood of photos I never asked to see. Gold lights, crystal chandeliers, Alina standing beneath a canopy of white roses, her red lehenga sparkling like something out of a magazine. My parents stood beside her, smiling proudly, as if everything had unfolded perfectly. I wasn't there. I had received the invitation weeks earlier, a formal card mailed to my office address, not even handwritten. No personal note, no call asking me to come early and help, just printed ink and my name spelled correctly, as if that was enough. I told them I had work commitments. The truth was simpler. I couldn't stand in that hall and clap for something that had cost me my peace. On the morning of the wedding, I sat in my apartment hundreds of miles away. I made coffee. I opened my laptop. I tried to treat it like any other Saturday. But around noon, my phone started buzzing. Relatives posting photos, friends tagging me. "Your sister looks stunning. What a grand celebration. You must be so proud, proud." I zoomed in on the pictures. The floral arch alone must have cost thousands. The stage was layered with velvet and gold embroidery. The catering spread looked extravagant, rows of silver trays and dessert tables that stretched across the hall. Every detail screamed luxury. Every detail had my fingerprints on it. Yet not a single caption mentioned me. I wasn't in the family photos. I wasn't acknowledged in speeches. I wasn't thanked publicly or privately. It was as if I had never existed. Late that evening, after the ceremony ended, Alina called. I hesitated before answering. "Why didn't you come?" She asked softly. "You didn't need me there." I replied, "That's not true, isn't it?" My voice stayed calm, but my chest felt tight. Everything looked perfect. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "Mom told everyone you insisted on paying. She said you wanted to prove how successful you are." I froze. "What?" "She told my in-laws you didn't want anyone else contributing, that it was your way of showing love, showing love." So that was the story now. Not pressure, not expectation, my choice. They hadn't just taken my savings. They had rewritten history. Suddenly, it all made sense, the formal invitation, the distance, the lack of gratitude. In their version of events, I wasn't the exploited daughter. I was the generous, slightly arrogant sister who needed recognition. I felt something settle inside me then, not anger, but clarity. They could take my money, but they didn't get to control my truth anymore. "I hope you're happy, Alina." I said gently. "I am." She whispered, "Good," I replied. And when the call ended, I realized something unexpected. I didn't feel jealous. I didn't feel regret. I felt free, because that wedding wasn't just her new beginning, it was mine too. A year can change everything. When I first moved to the new city, I felt fragile, like a tree uprooted from familiar soil. But slowly, quietly, I began to grow again. The promotion I had accepted came with longer hours and bigger responsibilities, but it also came with something I had never truly experienced before: recognition. My boss praised my ideas, my team respected my leadership. When I worked hard, I was rewarded, not expected to give more. I started therapy. I learned new words for old wounds, boundaries, emotional labor, conditional love. For the first time, I understood that strength didn't mean sacrifice. Strength meant knowing when to stop sacrificing. My savings account grew again, slowly at first, then faster. Within a year, I had rebuilt what I lost and more. But this time, the money didn't feel like a family safety net. It felt like mine. I rarely heard from my parents. Pride kept them silent, I suppose, but news travels in families. My father's business had collapsed completely. Debt piled up. Elena and her husband moved into a smaller apartment. The grand wedding glow had faded into everyday reality. One evening, my phone rang. My mother's name flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a long time before answering. Her voice was different, softer, thinner. "We need help." There it was. No apology, no acknowledgement of the past, just need. My father took the phone next. "We're struggling. It's temporary, just until things stabilize. Temporary." Like my savings had been temporary. I closed my eyes and felt the old guilt trying to creep in. The familiar pull to fix everything, to be the strong one again. But therapy had taught me something powerful. You can love people and still refuse to rescue them. "I can't," I said calmly. Silence filled the line. "What do you mean you can't?" My father snapped. "We're your parents, and I was your daughter," I replied gently. My mother began to cry. "After everything we've done for you." I almost laughed at the irony, but I didn't. "I paid for the wedding," I said evenly. "That was my gift, my contribution. I won't do more. You're being selfish." My father accused. "No." I answered, "I'm being fair." After the call ended, I sat quietly for a long time. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. I felt steady. That was the real revenge. Not humiliation, not cruelty, just refusal. They expected the old version of me, the girl who equated love with sacrifice. But she no longer existed. And the sweetest part of all, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free.